There are some things we can all agree should be kept secret, like your undying love for Taylor Swift. And your salary. I mean, it makes sense. No, not your shrine to Tay-Tay or that restraining order she has against you. I meant keeping your paycheck secret. Thing is, more and more people are finding out that keeping mum on how much they make isn't actually a good thing. They're arguing that salaries should be made public knowledge, within the company at least, and that it would make you and your colleagues more productive, help you plan your career path, decide which skills to acquire, and make pay more equitable. Take America's Whole Foods, for example. If you were in their employment and you wanted to know just how much that lazy kiss-ass colleague makes, you could look it up and find out. That's because Whole Foods has had an open policy that makes it possible to check out even the CEO's salary or bonus since the 1980s. Crazy, right? So why do they practice this policy? John McKee is the co-founder and co-CEO of Whole Foods. According to Inc., he believes this transparency quells the gossip mill and exaggerations over who is making what and leads to greater justice in compensation. And any form of favoritism or nepotism is out there for everyone to see. He goes on to say that lower wage employees can plan their career paths because they can see what the best paid positions are in the company, which will give them the motivation to strive towards those positions. Tech startup Buffer is taking it one step further. Everyone in the world can see that the CEO Joel makes $218,000 a year, while the lowest paid worker Daniel earns $61,834. And we all know that because it's on this very public Google spreadsheet. This is seriously as hipster as it can get. I mean, look at Daniel's occupation. He's a happiness hero. That's almost as bad as retail Jedi. That's shop assistant to us boring conventional people. It's a real job title, by the way, not Buffer's, but it's real. Buffer also has a public formula on how salaries are set, based on an employee's role, experience, cost of living, etc. Meanwhile, over at Squaremouth, a travel insurance comparison website, employees get to vote on raises requested by their teammates. Wall Street Journal explains how it works. Employees make their pitch, and a majority vote is required for approval. And yes, bosses vote too. Now, I know most of us would recoil at the very thought of sharing salary information, but millennials are more comfortable breaking the taboo. Business Insider carried a report with this survey by The Cashierette, a personal finance site. It says people 18 to 36 years old are far more comfortable discussing their salaries, and this is because they value equality and fairness and transparency. Of course, not all companies are going to like so much transparency. Like management researcher David Burkers explains, this would mean that employers won't be able to save as much money as they would have with pay secrecy, because they would no longer have an edge in negotiations. They can't hire great people for less if job seekers could find out how much the companies are actually willing to pay. But it doesn't mean that pay transparency is a bad thing for companies. I mean, they might dismiss this idea as some buzzy, pointless millennial. But there is research that suggests that transparent pay does help increase productivity. There's a study by UC Berkeley that was published in The Atlantic. They conducted a field experiment which divided people into two groups. One was told at the going rate of others performing similar work, and the other group was kept in the dark about the payer's earnings. The outcome? Those who were informed about their relative earnings position were more productive than those that weren't given that information. In fact, their work output grew by as much as 10%. But of course, even if a company were open to implementing pay transparency, it is easier said than done. It may be easy to do it in a startup with 10 employees. Not so easy with a bank with thousands of workers. And there's the hurt feelings and resentment when you find out that that lazy kiss-ass colleague is making more than you. Office politicking could get uglier. And some people will feel betrayed because not everyone will be happy that their salary is now on public record. But maybe we don't have to go as far as to make everyone's salaries public. Perhaps what would be helpful is to make the company's compensation policy clear. Maybe be more transparent as to how exactly raises and bonuses are determined. Employers could be more open about the salary range for positions in the company, like how they do it in the civil service, so you don't have to always wonder if you're entitled to a higher salary or if you're actually more or less adequately paid. And if you aren't earning within the salary range, you could always demand to know why you aren't. Ask what you can do or what skills you could acquire to reach that range. Or, if you're still unhappy, you could just walk away. But at least you'll know if you are being fairly compensated, and that if you ever wanted to be a retail Jedi, you'd know just how much you'd be bringing home. Just saying.